Hello, welcome to the Crafting Shares. I'm Ruth from Beltane Gifts, and today I'm going to show you how to make one of these, which is a needle felted fox. This little guy took me about 2 hours to make. He's my 5th attempt. I'm getting there slowly, and I definitely recommend using some pictures off maybe Google or Pinterest just as reference images, just to help you get the shape you're after. Hope you enjoy. For today's project, we're going to need something to felt on. I'm using a cloth bag filled with rice, a felting needle. This is a 38 gauge star needle, but you should be able to use just any fine generic needle. Some finger protectors, just because we're going to be working close to our hands for this. Some scissors, some beads. I've got 2 3mm black round beads and 1 8mm black round bead. Needle and thread to attach our beads with, and pipe cleaners. Now for this I'm using 4 pipe cleaners. They're just over 30 centimetres long, and it doesn't matter what colour you use. I've just got brown and cream, so that's what I'll be using. We're going to start off by making the armature. Now the armature is like the skeleton for what you want to make, and I definitely recommend having a look online on Google. You can just search for armature and then the name of the animal you want to make, and it will give you kind of like a skeleton that you can follow along with. Now for this one I want about 9 centimetres from the end of the pipe cleaner, and I'm just going to bend it in half there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to twist, so pinch one end and just keep twisting all the way along, and you want to keep twisting until it's nice and firmly twisted and it shrinks in length, so it should go down to about 8 centimetres in length. Now this is just for the size I'm making. You can make it whatever size you want, but what you'll need for your back legs is just for it to be slightly longer. So I'm going to do the same with the other back leg. There you go, and they should be about the same length. Once you've got those, what we're going to do is just place them together, and where the twist ends we're just going to pinch them together and then twist the two together. And this section that I'm twisting now is going to be the spine of our creation. So you should have just a Y shape like so. Next I'm going to do the front legs, so this doesn't need to be quite so long. I'm going to start with about 8 centimetres for this, and then just do exactly the same. And then I'm going to do the same for the other one. So once the 2 front ones are done, they should look like that. We're then going to attach them to the back section. So where the twist it ends, we're just going to connect that just right to the end of our back section in a cross like so. And we're just going to twist that round. We don't want to lose too much of the spine, so we're just wrapping around a little bit there. And then what we're going to do is take one of our single thicknesses and just twist that down the spine. With the other one, we're going to fold it in half with just a little bit over, which we're going to wrap around here, just so it's attached. And then we're just going to twist the remaining section, and this will act as our neck. If you straighten it out, it should look something like that. It's now time to add our fibre, so we're going to start with our dark brown fibre, and we're going to split off some lengths, and just do this gradually, just because the fibre length can be a bit short in places and we don't want to break it. So we've got a section there. If it's a bit thick like mine is, what you can do is just draw it out slightly, just pinch it between both hands and just really gently pull. You can see there the fibre starting to stretch. And this just thins it out a little bit, which makes it easier to add. It's not as bulky. Once you've got your fibre, we're going to start with the back legs. Lay your fibre pointing towards the body with just about 1 centimetre along the length. Pinch it in place, and then we're just going to start wrapping it round. To do this, I lay my finger to the back, hold it in my hand, and just keep it tensioned. We want it to be quite tight as we're wrapping it, and I have it at an angle, so if you see there's a bit of an angle along my finger. This means that the fibre works its way down the pipe cleaner as you wrap. If you want your fibre to be bulkier, what I'd recommend is just using a shallower angle, and that way it keeps wrapping in the same place, but I want it to work its way down here. So once we've got about 1 centimetre, what we're going to do is just pop our nail on it and bend. and that gives us a bulky section here. We're going to wrap over the top, and this is going to be our paw, and then we're going to work our way down the leg to the body. Any extra fibre you can wrap along the body itself just to start bulking it out. Now I have got quite a lot of extra fibre, so what I'm going to do is just pull some off. And with this loose end here, I'm just going to keep twisting, and twist as tight as you can here. And what should happen is that the fibre will attach to the pipe cleaners and stick in place. So if you can see that there. So I'm not actually going to have to felt this into place, it's just going to stick on its own. Okay, so that's one leg down. I'm now going to do the other legs. When you're done, it should look something like this. Now, for me, I don't think this is quite thick enough in some of the areas, so I'm just going to do a second go over. I'm going to use the dark brown again. I'm going to use quite a thin bit of the dark brown because I don't want to go up too much, because this is going to be mainly seen for the ankles. So I'm just going to take a small section, and with one of the legs, exactly the same again. I'm just going to have a little bit going down the leg. Then I'm just going to start wrapping around. Always make sure you wrap in the same direction each time, and this way you don't end up undoing what you've done already. And try to keep your fibre nice and flat. We don't want it getting all twisted as we go, just because it'll show up a lot more that way. And we're just going to keep wrapping all the way down to the body again, and I just want the ankles just to be that little bit thicker. And because our pipe cleaners are now hidden, we're going to have to felt in the ends. So once you get to a point where you've only got a little bit of fibre left, like so, pop on your finger protectors, grab your needle, and what we're going to do is pinch just between finger and thumb, the section where we end our wrapping, and this is just going to hold things in place whilst we felt the ends in. So we're going to be felting along the length of the needle, never felt down. We don't want to hit the pipe cleaner because it's metal and it will break the needle. So with our needle along the length of the pipe cleaner, we're just going to tuck those fibres in, and we're just using the side of the needle to catch the fibres and tuck them down and under. With that done, that should hold everything in place. We're now going to do the other legs. It should now look a bit like this. Now, if you have bits that are a bit too fluffy, what you can do is just lightly, just keep twisting over the top, always in the same direction that you've wound, and that should help just even things out a little bit. Don't worry too much about the spine area, we're going to be really covering that. And if you find that you have little bits here that are coming off the end of the toe, we can felt those into place. Just grab your finger protectors and needle, and again pinching between finger and thumb, just catch the fibre right at the end, being careful not to hit that pipe cleaner, just some little jabs, just catching those ends and felting them back into place. So next we want to add our russety colour. It's exactly the same technique. What we're going to be doing though is starting just a little bit further up so that we've got our black socks. So start midway up, leave yourself a little bit to hold on to, and just start wrapping. And you should end up with something similar to this. Now, I think for the front legs, this is the thickness that I'd be happy with, so I'm going to leave these as is. For the back legs, we need to really bulk out towards the top and the thigh section. So exactly the same again, we're just going to start further up again. I'm using a thicker piece of fibre, and we're just wrapping around and working our way up. And you can do this as many times as you need to get the thickness that you want, and any extra just goes to help fill out the body. There we go. So what I want to do now is start filling out the body and the neck, and we can always add extra to the legs if we need it. So I'm going to grab our finger protectors and our needle because we're going to be felting some of this in place. And I've grabbed a big piece of roving here, and we're going to do exactly the same sort of thing that we've been doing. I'm going to start just by wrapping between the legs here and felting the end downwards towards the body just to hold it in place until we get back to there. So I'm going to wrap between the legs and then work my way along the body. Finish off just round the neck there. Can twist, and any loose bits we can felt in. And again, I'm felting towards the body, just tucking everything back the way we came. Now I want to bulk the body out even more. I don't want to go any more between the legs yet, so I'm just going to start from the midsection here. And I'm just stabbing any loose bits just to attach them to the rest. Now I'm holding this up so that you can see it, but if you're doing it at home you can lay it against your felting pad just to protect your fingers. So now we've got a bit of fibre on here. What I want to do is just to bend everything into place so I get an idea of where everything's going to go. So we're going to bend the legs down, and the back legs, we're just going to shape them a little bit. They've got a bit of a zigzag in them, so we're going to leave the thigh here. I'm just going to bend the leg back once more, just so we've got this sort of shape. Now it does look a bit like a nappy here where we added our section round, so we're just going to felt this into place and just use little jabs just lightly over the area. We just want to blend it in together. We are going to be adding some more fibre to the outside here, so don't worry too much if it doesn't look quite right or if your stab marks are showing. It's just basically getting fibre where we want it before we start doing the proper shaping. So now what I want to do is build up the hindquarters and the chest and the neck. I'm going to do that with just sections of fibre, so I'm tearing it down so it's just a bit shorter. I'm going to lay the fibre over where I want to put it, hold it in place with my thumb, and then stab it in round the outside edge. Now the reason I'm doing the outside edge first is because we want to control where the fibre is going to go. So if you stab the outside edge like so, when you release your thumb, you're still going to have a big section of fibre up here that you can move about. If you stabbed in the centre first, you'd find that all the fibre would just kind of spread out. We don't want that. Okay, there we go. So we've got our big wodge of fibre there. Now, we don't want too much at the back here, so what I'm going to do is stab from here with my needle. You can see there it's pointing. You can see that my needle's pointing the back the way I'm coming. So I'm stabbing to the left but moving towards the right, and that's just tucking the fibre in, and if you can see that, it's just pushing it back the way I want it. Take this quite slow, you don't want to hit the pipe cleaner. And then once you've got the fibre where you want it, again we can just kind of hold it in place with our thumb and do lots of little jabs just over the surface. Okay, don't worry that it's not looking quite how we want it yet. I'm going to be playing with the shape of the legs again. Also need to bulk everything out. So I'm going to be adding some more sections to the chest. So popping those in there. Exactly the same technique. We're just going to felt round the outside edge just to hold them in place and then shape them. Now there is a lot more pipe cleaner in this area, so again, take it slow. Now the body's looking quite long. They do have long bodies, but probably not this long. So what I'm going to do is join the back legs further up the torso, and this should make them look just a little bit shorter. So again, big chunk of fibre. Just going to lay it on the side here, and I'm going to attach into the back leg. Again, using quite a shallow angle with these stabs, just so I don't hit that pipe cleaner. Now what I'm doing here isn't a finished felt, this is just a rough attaching of fibre. What I want to do is build up the basic shape before I move any further along. And to do that, I'm just looking at the overall shape where I need to add. So for the shoulders as well, I'm going to be wanting to bulk those out, because if you look from the top, it is quite narrow. So I'm going to be adding a section of fibre over the top, which is going to attach to the chest and go over the front legs. Don't forget to rotate as you're working. You want to look at it from all different angles just so that you can get that nice rounded 3D shape. Okay, so I've put quite a lot of fibre on there, just get the basic fill out here. Now it does mean that my legs are looking quite short. Now to elongate those, what we're going to do is we're going to create a line going up the sides, just to make it look as though the legs are longer than they are. So imagine where the leg is going to go, and we're just going to do stabs close together in a line, and I'm using again quite a shallow angle and tucking the fibre back the way I came. I'm going to do the same here at the back. This time we're going to do a bit of a curve, and I think I can tuck up this section here a little bit higher. And really we've got a lot of leeway because the spine is just along here. Just about feel it, just along here, so we can push fibre all the way up towards that line where the spine is, and then add more fibre on top to make it taller. Now, I'm just going to have a bit of a play with that, and just a little stab. There we go. So if you see what a difference that's made, now if I want to, I can add more fibre along the back just to make him taller there. I can also play about with the feet a little bit and the legs. Now, if you don't want the orange to go all the way down there, what you can do is just gently rub and bring it up just to elongate those ankle sections there. And I'm just going to bend just like so. And what we can do is just stab at the back here, just to bring that down. What this is doing is just giving the back of the leg there a little bit more length and sending the knee this way. And if we create an angle here by just pushing some fibre that way and some fibre that way, it just makes it look as though the knee is just that little bit higher. And you can really define that a bit more using a bit more fibre. Just have a play with it, get it how you want it. I definitely recommend having a look at some reference pictures on Google. If you just put in fox and just have a look at the pictures, there's some different views from different angles just to give you an idea of where everything needs to go. There we go. So if you look at the difference between the unfelted side there and the felted one, getting a lot more definition on this side now. So what I'd recommend is going over the whole thing now, just little jabs all over the surface, and start moving things in. We want to get that nice line up here, and I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so I've done some stabbing and I've brought things in, firmed them up a lot, and what I found is that I've ended up with a bit of a slope going down towards the bum. What I want to do is fill this in, bring the bum up, and have it so that the back end is just slightly higher. So I've got myself some fibre here. I'm just going to lay it on and attach it. Now, looking at my reference pictures, the back end of the fox tends to be quite straight, and then we go up and have a little bit of a curve coming up here and just down to the shoulders. So what I'm going to do is start from the back and just felt the fibre forward towards the shoulder area, and whilst I'm doing that I'm felting round the curve because I want to keep that nice curve. So I'm working from side to side, just moving that fibre forward. Okay, now this gives us an idea of what I want to create. I am going to have to add a bit more fibre to this as I go, just because once we felt this down it's going to shrink quite a lot. So I'm going to do exactly the same again on top. With my needle, what I'm doing is I'm changing the angle so that it's always pointing down towards the spine, and that gives us a nice curve. There we go, you can see that starting to work. And I also want to just thicken out here just on the shoulder section because I am quite narrow, so I'm just going to build up these sections here. And with these, because I want the extra fullness towards the top of the shoulder, I'm going to work up from the leg to the shoulder. There we go, so that's a better shape. I am going to go over these areas and just firm it all up, but that's kind of the general idea. Before I firm it all up though, I thought it'd be good to add the neck and head. So I've got a big section of fibre here, and if you remember, we've got our pipe cleaner going through the centre, so we can just wrap this on. And I think because it's going to try and escape, I'm going to just felt on the end first, stabbing it in towards the body, and again pointing the needle away from the pipe cleaner. And then we're just going to wrap it round, and every time we do a full wrap we're just going to give it a bit of a stab just to get it to hold in place. Now I haven't wrapped this too tightly, I want there to be a bit of give in the fibre so that when I am stabbing there's movement in it, so it can felt properly. Okay, I'm just going to pull this section off here because I think that's going to be enough for the basis for the neck. And I'm just going to felt in these loose ends. Okay, now where it joins to the body, I'm just going to pull off some small sections and I'm just going to lay it over the line, and we're just going to stab it into either side of that line, and this is just hiding those joins there. There you can see we've got a much smoother finish. So I'm going to do that all the way round. Okay, now I want just a little bit more height on the top and to hide this pipe cleaner here. So I'm just going to take a little section there, place it on the top, and I'm just going to stab round in a circle just into the neck we've created, and that should help hide the pipe cleaner underneath. Okay, now there's a section here where I added the fibre on the other side that's showing lines. I'm going to go over that, I'm going to go over the whole thing actually, and just smooth everything in, bring it together, ready for adding the face. Okay, here you go, I've gone over the body and I've had a look from different angles just to try and get the shape that I'm after. Now you can spend as long as you want on this, keep going until it's exactly how you like it. If you're not happy with it, then I'd like to say it's not done yet. But I think for me this will do for now because I just want to show you the basics. So next we just want to add the snout and the rest of the head. So I'm just pulling off a section of fibre. I'm going to place it where I want the nose to be. So it's going to be just coming from here. So I'm going to attach just towards the top there, just in a bit of a circle. So I'm felting just round on a curve, again being careful of that pipe cleaner, and just going to keep working round, just catching the fibre and just attaching it in a circle. Here you go, I've gone over the whole thing now, just brought everything in a little bit and shaped it a little bit more, trying to hide any sort of lines or obvious joins. Now you can spend as long as you want on this and just keep going until you're happy, because if you're not happy you're not done yet. But for me, I think this is going to do, because I just want to show you the basics of how to get it to this stage. So next we're going to be adding the nose. So I've got a small section of fibre here. I'm just going to lay it on the face with my thumb holding it there. And I'm just going to stab round in a circle, being careful not to hit that pipe cleaner too much. And what I want to do is just attach it to the face, just so it's got something solid to work from. And once it's there, we're just going to stab with the needle pointing towards the head and keep working around gradually, just until it starts to build up. You'll know when it's starting to get there because you'll just feel a bit more resistance when you stab. Once it starts to firm a little bit, what we're going to do is just take this snout section between finger and thumb, just lightly, and we'll start stabbing into this. And by having my finger and thumb there, I'm just stopping the fibre from being pushed sideways, so it's easier to attach it to the head. You'll want to work from different angles for this, just to make sure that it's firmly attached all round. Once that's starting to firm up a little bit, we can work our way round the whole thing. So with the needle pointing towards the centre of the nose, we're just going to work round in a circle, just little jabs, not too deep, just to start shaping. You might want to swap between stabbing towards the head and stabbing straight down towards the centre of the nose, just to make sure everything's attached. Okay, now this is a very pointy nose. Don't worry, we still have to add our cream section to the chest and the neck and the chin. So we're going to add that now. So if we grab our cream fibre, and what we're going to do is start from the chest, and we're just going to lay it on there, hold it in place with our thumb, and just stab around the outside. What we want is for it to go round the leg, so we'll stab in a curve just round the leg there, then across the chest and up the other side, and then we're just going to work up the neck there towards the chin. Now once you've done the outside lines, we can stab in the middle and just bring all this fibre in. And if you've got any loose fibres like I have here along the outside edge, just catch them with the edge of your needle and just tuck them into place, and just do it quite slowly. We want to get a nice line there. between the two colours. Once you've got everything in place, just go over the whole thing with just little jabs, not too deep and quite close together. We don't want to change the shape, we just want to give a nice smooth finish. If you find you've got any gaps, you can always add more fibre over the top. Don't worry too much about that. Once that's all felted in place, we've still got some left. If you haven't got any left, just add some more. And what we're going to do is just go around the outside edge, and we want to go part way up and along the snout right to the end, and the same on the other side. And the same as we did before, just make sure you've got a nice smooth line where the two colours meet. And then we're just going to stab all the remaining fibre up towards the chin, just to bulk that out a little bit. Once it's nice and secure, just really define underneath that chin, and do that by just spending a little bit more time and just bring it in a little bit, just so you can really see a difference between that and the chin above. Now the snout's still quite pointy towards the end. I'm just going to add another small section of cream fibre just right at the end there, just for the chin. So it's only a small section this time. And what I'm going to do is just pop it on with my thumb, and then I'm just going to outline the mouth and chin just below where the white is at the moment. We're just going to go down a little bit and just do a line, and the same on the other side. And then I'm just going to attach it just by going round here, just under the chin there, and a little bit of a curve. What you should end up with is a ball of very loose fibre just on the end here, and what we can do is stab straight down just under the chin, just towards the point of the nose. And what this does is it just pushes that excess fibre towards the nose area so that we've got something to work with. Then I'm just going to put my thumb underneath just to stop things from moving, and I'm just going to go over that line again, just catching this loose fibre and just rolling it. So you see we've got a rolled edge there. Same on the other side. So I'm just going for that line where we attached everything to begin with, and can you see how that's rolled everything up there? That's going to be our bottom lip. So I'm just going to go over it, lots of little jabs close together, just to reduce that down in size a bit. You may find, like me, that the nose has been a little bit squished by this, so I'm just going to curve that round again. I'm doing that by working round in a curve, and I'm bringing the point of the nose just in a bit, and then just giving it a squeeze. That just squares it off a little bit. We are going to be adding a bead there to create the nose, but it's nice to get the basic shape now. Okay, so we're going to be wanting to create the shape of the top of the head. So I'm just going to be stabbing back a little bit of an angle, just to bring everything back. Go. And then we just want to fill in the back of the head with a bit more fibre. Now Fox's face is wider than this, but what I want to do is add the nose and eyes first before I finish off adding the fibre, just because I want to know where everything has to go. So I've grabbed my needle and thread, my beads and my scissors, and with the thread what we're going to do is just sew in through the side of the head, come out through the back, pull the ends just inside. Then we're going to do a couple of little stitches just to make sure the thread is nice and secure. Sew through, and we're going to come out just to one side of the nose. There we go. Grab your big bead, pop it onto the thread, and then we're going to sew back through to where our stitches are. Try and get your stitches as close together as you can. We want to hide them after we've done this, so if you've got them close together it means we have less to hide. Okay, so we're going to give the cotton a bit of a pull, and I'm just holding onto the nose whilst I do it because I want the bead to embed, but I don't want to squish the face completely. Now I'm going to sew it on twice just to make sure it's doubly secure. When the nose is how you want it, we're just going to do another couple of little stitches. I'm holding the nose in place with my finger and thumb just to stop it moving whilst I do these stitches. So we've got our shiny nose on, so it's time to do our eyes next. So I'm going to sew through to the side of the nose, and the eyes are going to be quite close together, so I'm going to aim for about here. If you're in doubt about where to place your eyes, then if you've got any pins with the ends to them, like the little ball ends, I recommend having one of those handy, and you can actually shove it in and just try different positions so you get an idea of where you want to put things. Now make sure you have it sticking out as far as you want it. I like to indent them a little bit, but I think because it's quite squishy still, I don't want to pull too hard. Once it's in position, just sew through to the back and do another little stitch, and then back through to the front, and try and get them even, because this is going to give your creation its personality. Again, give a little pull so they look about right. That's about right for me. I'll do another little stitch. Then I'm going to sew out through the side of the head again. And with my scissors, I'm just going to press against the side. I don't want to cut the felt. I just want to make sure that the end becomes invisible once I'm done. So there we go. Now that has left us with some stitches at the back to cover. So we're going to grab just a little bit of fibre there, pop it over the top, and then we're just going to stab around the outside with our needle, just in a circle, and then just over the top, just little jabs close together. We don't want to change the shape, we just want to smooth the whole thing over, and then just blend in the fibre. Now we want to bulk out the sides of the face a bit, so I've got some more fibre here, and what we're going to do is just add sections just to fill out here along the side of the nose and the side of the face. And the best way to do that is just to stab along where the cream and the orange fibre meet, just to secure it, and then come down the side of the face and round in a bit of a curve along the side of the head, along the front, just under the eye, and up a bit. So you should be attached now all around here, and what we can do is start stabbing back towards the face, just pushing the fibre that way, and then up towards the head. Just try and smooth it in where it's joined. There we go, and that's just given us that added section there in the cheek, just to bulk out the head a little. And do the same on the other side. There you go. Now that just widens our face a little bit more. If you want to, you can define the nose a bit more as well. Just spend a bit of time getting it to look how you want it to. Now it's time to add the tail and the ears. Now if I do the tail first, I must admit I have run out of the coloured fibre that I'm using for this, but I have got a video of me making the tail on a previous box, so I'm going to cut to that and show you how I've made it. There we go, so with that done, the body is starting to take shape, and what the fox really needs is a tail. So I've got some more carded fibre there, and this time I'm going to leave it in a long length, just fold it in half, and then attach the fluffy end just to the back of the fox. So I'm still using my fine needle for this. Now we're going to attach this by working around it in a circle just around the outside of the roving, just until it's nice and firmly attached. There we go. Now with the loose edges that we've got here, we can just stab those in just so that they become part of the rump of the fox. There we go, with that attached, we've got our fibre. What we need to do now is shape it. So I will be using my felting pad for this. The reason I'm using the felting pad is because I want to thicken up this fibre, and it's easier to stab down into something than it is to kind of stab against itself. So here I've got my length. I'm just going to start stabbing just over the surface of it, just where the two pieces of the fibre meet. Then just going to turn it over, do the same on the other side. Once you've started that felting process by flattening the two pieces together, what we're going to do is just lightly pinch between finger and thumb and just concertina the fibre towards the back end of the fox. We're then just using the needle, we're going to stab in at an angle so that we're just stabbing into that circle we created earlier. And we're just going to keep doing this, moving further up the tail, just so that it's felting in on itself and firming up. Now you want to keep rotating as you do this so that we can get it from all angles. And you'll start to notice when it's felting because it'll just feel firmer. Now I'm starting to stab from around the outside downwards, and this is just bringing in any loose bits of fibre just as they're getting pushed outwards as we're packing the fibre towards the fox. Now I'm moving back to using an angle, and I'm just stabbing down towards the bit that we've just felted. And you don't want to over stab this. We want there to be a bit of texture. We want it to look as though it's quite a fluffy tail. You don't want to flatten it out or smooth it out too much. We really want that texture. You're going to be stabbing quite deeply whilst you're doing this. We want to catch the fibre all the way through, and it's going to start bulking up soon, the tail. So nice deep stabs until you hit nice firmness where you felted previously. Now if you find it easier, you can build the tail up small sections at a time. I'm doing it this way because it's quicker for me to do it this way, and it's completely up to you how you prefer to do it. If you do find that you need more fibre when you get to this stage, you can always add that on top once you've got a nice firm section to add it to. Now I'm starting to pinch the end of the tail here because I want to bring it in and have it coming to a point. We are going to be adding some cream fibre on the end here though, so don't worry if it's not quite as pointy as you want it at this stage. We're going to be adding the real point with the cream fibre. Okay, now if you've got any lines or concertinas, just stab to either side of them, just bring it in a little bit, and you can just catch the fibre and just tack it to the other side of the line, and this just joins the two sections together. Have a look at the whole shape of the tail from different angles and just shape it how you want it. Now before we add the cream section to the end of the tail, we just need to firm up the very point of it. So I'm going to be stabbing down into the towards the centre line. So if you imagine there's a line going through the whole centre of the tail, and what we want to do is be stabbing down and rotating and always stabbing towards that line. Okay, so that's much firmer now. So we can add our cream fibre to it. Okay, so we've got our cream fibre there, small section. What we're going to do is we're just going to fold it over the end of the tail, and we're going to stab around in a circle around the end of the tail. Once you've gone over your circle a couple of times and it's nice and secure, what we're going to do is take these wispy bits that have just gone over the ends there, and we're going to stab them back up into the cream section. And that's because we want the cream section to be just purely cream. We don't want the cream working its way down the tail. Once you're sure it's attached, what we want to do is just start evening it out. We want it to look as though the orange flows naturally into the cream. So I'm just going to do some little jabs close together just to bring this section down a little bit. And then I'm just going to work back the same way we were doing with the orange, just catching that cream fibre and stabbing it into place. And then once that's done, what we're going to do is we're just going to start stabbing the cream fibre like we did the orange, just towards the back end of the fox, just until it's nicely secured in the shape we want it. Once we get to the very end, again you can pinch between finger and thumb and just pack that fibre down. Your finger and thumb will keep the fibre in place so that you can keep that nice pointed shape you're after. Now personally I think that's probably a little bit too big, so what I can do is I can cover over some of it using some more of the orange fibre. So I'm just going to lay that over just loosely and stab it into place. And I'm being quite random with my stabs, they're quite loosely placed. I don't need this to be smoothed out, it's quite nice to have a bit of texture. I just want to hide some of that white because it just doesn't look quite right to me. There we go. So we've got our tail now. Okay, now I do have enough fibre left to make the ears, so I'm going to grab that. And we're going to take just a small piece of fibre, split it in two. We want about equal amounts. And just going to spread it out a little bit. And it's much easier to sort out your amounts of fibre now than it is to try and work them out later. So if you do them both at once, you've got a better chance of your ears being the same sort of size. And what we're going to do is we're just going to stab just in a straight line and then another line just to create a point. There we go, so if you can see the point there. And because this is now attached to the cushion, what we can do is just really gently with our fingers just roll the fibre in so it's over the top and just stab it down, and the same from the other side. And what we want is just this really nice defined point. Once you've got that, you can just do little jabs over the whole thing. There we go. We don't want to overdo it at this point because what we need to do now is peel it off. So if you leave a fluffy end, the flat end's fluffy, we're just going to grab that between finger and thumb, just gently peel, and I keep re-gripping the fibre because you want to grip as close to where it's joined to the cushion as possible. Turn it over, and then we're going to stab over the whole thing again, and we're going to keep doing this, stabbing and turning over until it no longer tries to stick to the cushion. There we go. So that's the point of our ear. What we're going to do now is just lay this over the top of our other fibre and use it as a template and just follow along the lines just until we've got another point. And then it's just a case of doing exactly the same again. There you go. Now you should end up with two ears that are very similar. If you find that one of your ears has got a little bit of fluff coming off the top end, what you can do is just pinch between finger and thumb. With the side of your needle, just slide it down between your finger and the felted ear. Just a little bit of a sawing motion. You don't want to put any pressure on the side of the needle. You're literally just using the side and the little notches just to catch the fibre and tuck them into place. And you just find that that gives you just a smoother finish. Now what we need to do is attach them to the fox. So the way I like to do this is to create a little bit of a folded ear before I start to attach. So if you fold in one side first, then the other over the top, and that gives you just this little curve with a point on the top. And we're going to take our fox and we're going to lay this just on the side of the head. If you want your ear to be bigger, just increase the size there by pulling the two sides apart. Get it how you want it, kind of where you want it, and then pinch it in place with your thumb. And then what I'm going to do is just go inside where I've folded and just stab through into the side of the head. Then just going to rotate, pinch it to the side of the head with your thumb, and just where all this loose fibre is, we're going to start felting that in just behind the cheek there and into the neck. And again, little jabs. We just want to blend it all in together without changing the shape too much. Okay, you should be able to let go now. Position the ear, make sure it's how you want it, and then we can just stab in round the side, a few little jabs. And where we're joining here, don't worry about the line, we can cover that with just a little bit of spare fibre. Pull these down a little bit and open that ear up. Go, now I just want to hide that, so I'm going to grab just a little bit of fibre, lace it over the top and just stab around the outside edge. Once it's where you want it, just little jabs over the whole thing. And there you go, there's our first ear. And I'm just going to do exactly the same on the other side. And there we go. So we've got both our ears on now. And his tail. You can spend a bit of extra time if you want to just going over and shaping, but for me I think that will do for now. So there you go, there is our needle felted fox. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, be sure to give me a thumbs up. If you've got any questions or any comments about anything I've done, just pop it down there in the comment section and I will get right back to you. And if you've enjoyed the video and you want to see more, definitely click on that bell icon and the subscribe button so that you don't miss out on any future videos. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. Bye.